You have to grind. There is no way around it. You can wish for success. You can dream about success. You can even pray for success. But at some point, you have to go to work. Success is predictable. It's not luck and it's not magic. It's hard work and discipline. And that's what most people don't want to hear. They want the reward without the effort. They want the harvest without planting the seeds. They want the championship without the training. But life doesn't work that way. Life asks a question of every person. How badly do you want it? And your answer is not found in your words. It's found in your actions. It's found in the early mornings, the late nights, the sacrifices nobody sees. That's where success is built. You see, grinding is not punishment. It's preparation. The hours you spend improving yourself are preparing you for opportunities that haven't arrived yet. The books you read, the skills you develop, the discipline you practice, none of it is wasted. Every day you're becoming someone more valuable. And here's what I've learned. The marketplace pays well for value, not wishes, not excuses, value. Now, there will be days when you don't feel motivated, days when you're tired, days when progress seems invisible. Those are the days that matter most, because anyone can work when they feel like it. The question is, can you work when you don't? Can you keep going when nobody is watching? Can you stay committed when the excitement is gone? That's where the grind begins. And that's where champions are made. Don't misunderstand me. I'm not talking about working yourself into exhaustion. I'm talking about becoming disciplined. I'm talking about showing up day after day, week after week, month after month, even when results are slow. Because success is not an event. It's a process. And every process requires patience. Most people overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can do in 5 years. Why? Because they quit too soon. They stop grinding before the miracle happens. They give up before the seeds have time to grow. So, if you're serious about changing your life, if you're serious about building success, if you're serious about becoming more than you are today, then understand this simple truth. You have to grind. Not occasionally, not when it's convenient, every day. Because the future belongs to those who are willing to do today what others refuse to do. Let's begin. Let me ask you a question. What is success worth to you? Not what do you want, not what do you wish for, not what do you dream about late at night. What is it worth? Because every achievement has a price tag attached to it. Every skill, every accomplishment, every level of success, there is always a price. And here's what I've learned. Most people want the prize. Few people want to pay the price. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Now that's a powerful lesson because life doesn't get easier. The challenges don't disappear. The obstacles don't magically move out of the way. The question is, will you become stronger? Will you become wiser? Will you become more disciplined? Because success asks something from you before it gives anything to you. You see, nature teaches this lesson perfectly. Before the harvest, there must be planting. Before the reward, there must be labor. Before the victory, there must be preparation. That's the law, and no one escapes it. Not the wealthy, not the talented, not the lucky. Everyone pays. The only difference is this. Some people pay now and enjoy later. Others enjoy now and pay later. Think about that. The student studies while others are relaxing. The entrepreneur works while others are sleeping. The athlete trains while others are making excuses. Why? Because they understand something. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Now let me tell you something that changed my life. When I was younger, I wanted things to improve. I wanted more income. I wanted more opportunities. I wanted a better future. And then my mentor asked me a simple question. Jim, are you willing to pay the price? Not financially, personally. Was I willing to change? Was I willing to learn? Was I willing to become more valuable? Because success isn't something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. And becoming more requires effort. Many people say they want success, but watch what happens when the price appears. Early mornings, late nights, extra effort, consistency, patience. Suddenly the dream doesn't seem so exciting because now it's asking something from them. Now it requires sacrifice. And sacrifice is where many people turn around. But successful people keep walking. Here's what you must understand. Success is not expensive. The real expense is mediocrity. The real expense is wasted potential. The real expense is reaching the end of your life and wondering, what if I had given it everything I had? That's expensive. That's a price nobody wants to pay. If you are not willing to risk the unusual, you will have to settle for the ordinary. And ordinary is often the result of avoiding the price, avoiding discipline, avoiding growth, avoiding responsibility, avoiding the grind. Now, don't misunderstand me. Paying the price doesn't mean making yourself miserable. It means making investments in yourself. Every book you read, every skill you learn, every hour spent improving your craft. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you are making deposits into your future. And one day, those deposits begin to compound. One day, people call you successful. One day, they say, you're lucky. One day, they admire the results. But they didn't see the price. They didn't see the years of preparation. They didn't see the sacrifices. They only saw the harvest. The marketplace rewards value, and value must be developed. That's why you have to work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because when you become more valuable, your rewards increase. Not because life is unfair, but because life responds to value. Look at your goals. Look at your dreams. Look at the future you want. And ask yourself, am I willing to pay the price? Am I willing to do what others won't do? Am I willing to sacrifice today's comfort for tomorrow's opportunity? Am I willing to become the person capable of achieving the dream? Because success is available. Success is possible. Success is predictable, but it is not free. Every reward has a price. Every harvest requires a season of planting. And the people who achieve extraordinary things are not necessarily more talented than everyone else. Often, they are simply the ones who decided the dream was worth the price. And when you make that decision, your life, let me tell you something very important. The grind is not just about success. It is about who you become while chasing success. Most people think the grind is punishment, something to avoid, something to escape. But I want you to understand this truth. The grind is a teacher. It teaches what comfort never can. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And discipline is built in the grind, not in easy days, not in lucky moments, not in comfort, but in pressure, in struggle, in repetition. You see, character is not created in celebration. Character is created in challenge. When things are easy, anyone can stay strong. But when things get hard, that is when real character appears. That is when excuses are exposed. That is when habits are tested. That is when truth is revealed. Let me ask you something. What do you become when nobody is clapping? What do you become when no one is watching? What do you become when results are slow and motivation is gone? That is the real you, not the version you show the world, but the version you build in silence. The grind has a way of shaping people. It sharpens focus, it builds patience, it strengthens discipline. It forces you to grow or stay the same. There is no standing still in the grind. You are either improving or you are falling behind. And here is something powerful. Every difficult day is building something inside you. You may not see it, you may not feel it, but it is happening. Every early morning you push through. Every task you complete when you are tired, every moment you choose effort over ease, it is building strength. Not just outside success, but inside identity. Because success without character does not last, but character built in the grind lasts a lifetime. That is why struggle is not your enemy. Struggle is your training ground. Don't wish for less problems. Wish for more skills. Because problems do not go away. They only change shape. As you grow, your problems grow too. But so does your ability to handle them. That is progress. The grind teaches patience. It teaches you that results take time. It teaches you that growth is not instant. It teaches you to trust the process, even when nothing seems to be happening. And that is where most people quit. Not because they cannot succeed, but because they cannot wait. But those who stay, those who keep going, those who keep grinding, they become different. They become steady. They become reliable. They become strong under pressure. Life stops shaking them easily because they have been shaped by difficulty. You see, comfort makes people weak, but the grind makes people powerful. Comfort says, take it easy. The grind says, become better. Comfort says, stop when it gets hard. The grind says, push through. Comfort builds habits of delay. The grind builds habits of discipline. And discipline is everything. Because discipline is not what you do once. It is what you do repeatedly. It is showing up when you don't feel like it. It is continuing when there is no applause. It is staying committed when results are invisible. That is how character is formed. Let me be clear. The grind will test you. It will test your patience. It will test your focus. It will test your commitment. And in those moments, you will discover who you really are. Not who you pretend to be, but who you actually are becoming. And here's the truth that changes everything. You are not just working towards success. You are being shaped by the process. Every struggle is building resilience. Every effort is building strength. Every challenge is building identity. Slowly, quietly, powerfully. So don't avoid the grind. Respect it. Because one day, you will look back and realize the very thing you tried to escape was the thing that built you. The grind builds character, and character builds everything else. Let me tell you something very important. The loudest people are not always the most successful. In fact, often they are not successful at all. Because success is not loud. Success is quiet, steady, consistent. It happens in silence. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And discipline does not need attention. It does not need applause. It does not need validation. It does not need recognition. It just needs action. You see, most people spend too much time talking about what they will do. They talk about dreams. They talk about goals. They talk about plans. But talking does not build anything. Action builds everything. And then there are complaints. Complaints are easy. The work is hard, so they complain. The results are slow, so they complain. The situation is difficult, so they complain. But let me tell you something. Complaints do not change anything. They only drain your energy. They only weaken your focus. They only keep you stuck. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Because better, they lift it. They do not complain about the challenge. They face it. They do not complain about the road, they walk it. Now listen carefully. Every time you complain, you give away power. Power over your thoughts, power over your emotions, power over your direction. And slowly, complaints become a habit, and that habit becomes a lifestyle of limitation. But there is another way, a better way, a stronger way. Replace complaints with action. Not excuses, not blame, not delay. Action. You see, action because it breaks patterns. When you act, something changes. Even a small step forward creates momentum, and momentum changes everything. Let me ask you something. What would happen if every time you wanted to complain, you chose to do something instead? One small action, one small effort, one small improvement. Do you know what would happen? Your life would begin to shift. Slowly at first, then noticeably, then dramatically. Because action builds confidence, not words, not thoughts, not emotions. Action. Every time you act, you prove something to yourself. I can do this. I can move forward. I can improve. And that belief grows stronger every time you repeat it. But complaints do the opposite. They create helplessness. They create delay. They create excuses. And excuses are dangerous because excuses feel comfortable but lead nowhere. The grind teaches a different language. Not the language of complaining, but the language of doing. Not the language of blaming, but the language of building. Not the language of waiting, but the language of working. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like doing it. And that is the difference between average and extraordinary. Average people talk. Extraordinary people act. Now think about your life. How many opportunities have you lost because you were too busy complaining? How many chances passed while you were waiting for things to get easier? How much time was wasted instead of invested? The truth is simple. Your future is not controlled by your complaints. It is controlled by your actions. What you do today is shaping who you become tomorrow. So here is the habit. Grind in silence. Work quietly. Improve quietly. Build quietly. Let your results speak, not your words. Because when you are grinding in silence, you are focused. You are disciplined. You are growing. There is no distraction of approval, no pressure of opinions, no need to prove anything, just progress. And slowly, without noise, without attention, without validation, you start to become powerful. Not because you talked about it, but because you did it. So remember this. Stop complaining. Start acting. Stop talking. Start building. Stop waiting. Start working. Because in the end, the people who change their lives are not the ones who complain the least. They are the ones who act the most, and they do it quietly. Every single day. Let me tell you something that most people don't realize until it's too late. Talent is common. Consistency is rare. And what is rare is what becomes valuable. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Not occasionally, not when you feel inspired, not when life is easy, but every single day. That is where success lives. You see, talent is impressive in the beginning. People notice it, people admire it, people talk about it. But talent without consistency fades, because talent alone is not enough to carry a life forward. Consistency is different. Consistency is quiet. Consistency is simple. Consistency is powerful. It does not need excitement. It does not need motivation. It does not need perfect conditions. It just needs repetition. Let me ask you something. Who do you think improves faster? The highly talented person who works once in a while, or the average person who shows up every single day? The answer is clear. The consistent person always wins in the long run, because consistency compounds. Small actions repeated daily turn into massive results over time. A little reading every day, a little practice every day, a little discipline every day. It may not look like much at first, but over time it becomes everything. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act, but a habit. And habits are built through consistency, not intensity, not bursts of effort, but steady commitment. Now listen carefully. Most people fail not because they lack ability. They fail because they stop. They start strong, but they do not continue. They get excited, but they do not stay consistent. And inconsistency destroys potential because inconsistency momentum. And without momentum, everything feels harder than it really is. But consistency builds momentum, and momentum makes everything easier. Think about it like this. One push is nothing, but repeated pushes move mountains. One day of effort is small, but hundreds of days of effort become transformation. That is how life works. Now, let me be honest with you. There will be days when you don't feel like it. Days when you are tired. Days when progress feels slow. Days when nothing seems to change. Those are the days that matter most, because that is where consistency is tested. And that is where most people quit. Not because they cannot continue, but because they cannot stay patient. They want fast results. They want instant progress. They want immediate success. But life does not work that way. Success takes time, and time rewards consistency, not talent, not shortcuts, not luck. Consistency, discipline, is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. And consistency is what keeps that bridge strong. Every day you show up, you are building that bridge. Every day you skip, you weaken it. Now think about your goals. What would happen if you stayed consistent for 1 year? Not perfect, not extraordinary, just consistent. Where would your life be? What would you become? What would change? Most people underestimate this power. Small actions repeated daily become identity, and identity becomes destiny. So here's the truth. Talent may give you a head start, but consistency wins the race. Every time, without exception. Because life does not reward the most talented. It rewards the most dependable, the most disciplined, the most consistent, the ones who keep showing up even when nothing is easy. So remember this habit. Consistency beats talent every single time. And if you stay consistent long enough, you will eventually become the person others once called talented. Let me tell you something very important. The reward does not go to the wishers. It does not go to the talkers. It does not go to the dreamers who never move. The reward belongs to those who grind, quietly, consistently, patiently. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. And the grind is nothing more than discipline repeated over time. Not once, not sometimes, but until it becomes who you are. You see, many people start the journey. They begin with energy. They begin with excitement. They begin with big dreams. But somewhere along the way, they stop. They slow down. They get distracted. They lose patience. and eventually they quit. But the reward is not given at the beginning. It is not given in the middle. It is only given at the end. And most people never reach the end because they refuse to continue the grind. Let me ask you something. What separates those who succeed from those who don't? It is not intelligence. It is not talent. It is not even opportunity. It is endurance. The ability to stay in the game long after motivation disappears. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. Because better people don't stop when it gets difficult. Better people adjust. Better people persist. Better people grind through the resistance. Now listen carefully. The grind is not exciting. It is not glamorous. It is not always visible. It is often lonely, but it is powerful because every day you grind, you are building something inside you. Strength, discipline, character. And one day, that unseen effort becomes visible results. One day, people look at your success and say, lucky, but they don't see the grind. They don't see the early mornings. They don't see the late nights. They don't see the moments you kept going when it was hard. They only see the outcome. But you will know what it cost. You will know what sacrificed. You will know the discipline it took. And that knowledge, that inner strength is the real reward. Because success without struggle means nothing. But success earned through the grind means everything. It builds confidence that cannot be shaken. It builds identity that cannot be broken. It builds pride that cannot be taken away. Now understand this. The grind will test you. It will test your patience. It will test your focus. It will test your belief. And in those moments, you will face a choice. Stop or continue. Quit or persist. Give up or grind harder. And here's what I've learned. The people who win are not the ones who never struggle. They are the ones who refuse to stop struggling forward. They keep moving. They keep building. They keep grinding. Even when progress is slow. Even when results are invisible. Even when no one believes in them. Because they understand something powerful. The reward is not given for starting. The reward is given for staying. So let me leave you with this final thought. If you are willing to grind when it is hard, if you are willing to continue when it is slow, if you are willing to stay when others quit, then you will eventually arrive at a place most people never reach. Not because life was easier for you, but because you refused to stop. And in the end, the reward belongs to those who grind.